The following that I'm about to reveal now has been called the Hegelian dialectic in the world. It comes from, I believe it was a German or German American writer, Hegel. I can be wrong about his ethnicity, but it comes down to this. You have a thesis, you have an antithesis, and together they form a synthesis. So you have a problem over here that's caused, and then there's a reaction to it because people don't want this problem to happen. That's the antithesis. People want a solution. And then the solution comes, and the solution is based upon the reaction towards a problem. And that's a synthesis. But the synthesis is the outcome was intended all along. Now, people in the world, they copycat from the original. Christ has the original. When it comes to manipulation and getting things done in a covert manner, Christ is the master in it. Manipulation in itself doesn't have to be wrong, but Satan counterfeits what Christ is doing, and Satan has this self-destructive agendas attached to what he's doing. So let me say like this. This is what demons often do, and they do this through other people. So we see the people acting and the reactions against those people, but we don't see what's happening behind. Now, I'm going to reveal to you what's happening behind the scenes. When you have a population, let's say you have a population of, let me say just 5 million people. They live in a country. Okay, I'm going to give an illustration now. Let's go to the late Middle Ages to, let me think of a country, to China, or let's go to Funan. Funan was a kingdom in what they call Cambodia. And in Funan, you had like 5 million people. And those people, they worshipped those graven images. That's what the ancestors used to do. But at the time, there were people realizing something didn't add up. But the people were relief-centered. That's how worldly people are. And the people longed for relief. They had no intention of going through deliverance. There were believers among the Funan people, like several thousand of them, but they were severely persecuted because people wanted to have relief. Now, you didn't hear much about the believers because their messages were shut down, their letters were burned, their houses were overthrown and all of that. But now you had a population of 5 million, they needed relief. Why? Because you had all these rivalries, all these contentions. So what happened now? The demons that hang around there came with a project. The demons told the wizards, who were the shadow government over there, to start an attack upon the Funan people. So the wizards hired some men from the north, and they began to loot some villages. So there was panic throughout the country. People became afraid because there were bandits and robbers going around attacking people, and they didn't know who they were. And it happened throughout the country. It happened in the capital, it happened at the countryside, it happened near a fishing village, so it happened in diverse places. So after 6 months, people were thinking, do something about this. And the fear that people were feeling began to cause severe malfunctions in their daily lives. So people became sick, people had accidents at work, so it was a serious problem. And then there was this guy in town who was mentally ill because he was severely beaten by his parents, and the community allowed it to happen. Nobody wanted to face what happened because somebody wanted to deal with the fact that someone needed help, because they knew it would take a while before that guy would recover. So people rather didn't go through all of that. People just labeled him as crazy, and so they can be relieved. Now, this is what the people did, and the demons knew about this. So the demons told the wizards, go after that guy over there. So they captured the guy, and that guy received an offer that the wizards didn't tell him they were wizards. They pretended to be missionaries from Buddha, because Buddhism was quite in over there. They said they were missionaries from Buddha to help the guy because they know that he was severely mistreated by his people and they offered him help. So the guy received short-term fixes. And the guy, suddenly he could talk right, because before he had a speech impediment because he couldn't speak well. So he received short-term fixes. He thought they were real solutions. And that guy, he began his own business and he became successful in the country. Now, what happened after 5 years? After 5 years, when the economy collapsed due to the fearfulness that gospel will not function, this guy that was a scapegoat, he had his own big house with multiple wives, and he lived in pleasure. So what happened now? The demons began to put attention on that guy. And people began to compare the situation that they were all in a mess, but this guy was enjoying himself. And this caused anger. And people began to project all their hatred upon that guy. So when this happened, the wizards promoted the guy to become king. So he became the king of the country. And now people were so enraged against the guy. And that guy now began a war against a neighboring country. So now the attention went away from that guy towards the neighboring country. And a lot of men went into the war and a lot died. Now what happened over here? Because a lot of men died, the population decreased. Because of that, there were less people that were competing for land, competing for positions, competing for respect. So now a solution was given. Because before you had 5 million people, they were fighting about land. You had issues between families. So all of that is gone now. Why? Because people are relieved. Now we have only 3 million people. And, well, people are at ease. And they're still worshipping those graven images. Because when the community was in crisis, it was then that people were most likely to receive the gospel and be saved. But the demons didn't want this to happen. So the demons caused contention. And the demons came with their solution for it to keep people in the negative. There were several hundred people amongst that 5 million, they became born again. They began to follow Christ. The rest were distracted by what was going on. So, problem, reaction, solution. That's what the demons did. And by the way, I think Funan is not the right name. I believe they changed the name into Khmer, I believe in the 1200s, but anyway, I hope this parable has revealed unto you what I try to teach here. Unclean spirits will use problems that they cause through other people in order to provoke a reaction, and the reaction is often natural. So it's not your fault or the fault of other people that react that way, because you can expect it. But the demons intended reaction because they're going to use that reaction to deliver an outcome that will keep people trapped and keep people away from the gospel. And that is what's going on over and over again in every country. But people don't see it. People only look at the human actors, the humans that operate. They don't look at what's behind it. What problem, reaction, solution? Okay, think of it another way, okay? You have mankind. In the Garden of Eden, they fell. Mankind is in a fallen state. Now, this fallen state causes all kinds of troubles. People want solutions for it. People don't want to put up with it. People want a way out. But their way out is relief-centered. So it's not really a way out, it's a trap. And then Christ comes with the solution. And the solution causes mankind to become redeemed. So now, yet mankind was unfallen, mankind fell. That fallen state has, you can see throughout history, it's self-destructive. And now mankind is redeemed in Christ. So, but that outcome of redeemed mankind was always the intention of the Most High. The Most High did not agree with the fall of men, he did not agree with the fall of Satan and all of that, but he permitted it to happen to bring the glorious outcome of redeemed mankind. So, problem, reaction, solution. The Most High did not cause the problem in this case. However, he used it to bring a glorious outcome. In the paranormal, demons themselves cause the trouble to bring an outcome to make it easy for them. And you think it's working out for you, while in the long term it's working against you. So, whatever happens around you, whatever is happening through the media, by the way, there's also fake news, so don't believe everything you see on the media, or whatever's going on around you, look at it from a spiritual point of view. Stop looking only at human actors and how you feel about it. First of all, evaluate your way of thinking, so that your way of thinking is in agreement with Christ. And once you're in agreement with Christ, look from Christ's perspective to the circumstance. Because when you do that, you're going to notice a lot of stuff others can't notice. There are very few worldly people without Holy Spirit that can notice what's going on. Very few. And even when they know what's going on, they're still deceived. So when they begin to tell what's going on, demons are still using them to deceive other people. As a believer, have Christ's perspective. Well, that being said, be at peace.